Reyes, a Cuba innovation ancestry, who will also join us online to talk about the Haitian presence, particularly in Violeta, in Cuba, and what that means for the community. And of course, we'll also we will begin with Jaira Placid, the special project assistant at the HSI, or PhD student in the English department at the CUNY Graduate Center, who will kind of set up the conversation for us by sharing with you some of the images, sounds, and music and faces captured during our week-long stay in Violeta in Camagüey, experiencing that Haitian presence, that Haitian experience in Cuba. But I do want to say a big, great thank you to Dr. Greta Vidal, who will be speaking at a little bit more because she was one of the people who became an incredible resource for us to understand where we were going, what we were going to see, a bit of the history behind that presence, and also to warn us about what we needed to have in our suitcases in order to survive, to thrive during this week's stay. So without further ado, I'm going to stop and turn the floor over to Zaina Placid, who will share with you what we experienced and what we hope that will be part of our archive, and what we hope to return to collect to have this Haitian Cuban archival presence here at the HSI. Please help me welcome Zaina.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarah. Thank you everyone for being here. Let me get this. Slide open. Okay, great. Thank you so much. My role today is going to be, like Dr. Sarah said, brief and introductory, kind of like let you come with us a little bit of what we experienced while we were in Cuba. So this is the presentation, the CUNY Haitian Studies Institute, what we did at the Festival Folklórico Eva Gaspar and Memoriam in Violeta, Cuba. It was a 5-day festival from March 20th to the 24th. So this PowerPoint will talk about why we went, what we presented. It was myself and Dr. Sorrell who did a presentation, some highlights, and also if we get some videos too, and some possible takeaways and what we're thinking about the HSI archives. So, thanks. Okay, so why did we go? So the CUNY Haitian Studies Institute was invited to go to the 25th anniversary of the festival, which was in the province of Ciego de Avila in central Cuba for those 5 days. It was organized by the Casa del Caribe in Santiago de Cuba and the Haitian Embassy in La Habana. And it was celebrated to, well, the festival is named Eva Gaspar to celebrate a person named Eva Gaspar who immigrated to Cuba in 1918. So the festival really celebrates who she is and about her life. And this year's festival was commemorating the 20th Martha Jean-Claude, who was also in Haiti. She's a Haitian singer, activist. She went to Haiti in the 1950s. And she went to Cuba in the 1950s, but she passed away in Cuba in her early 80s and the early 2000s. So this festival was in her commemoration. So who was Eva Gaspar? The first thing we need to ask is, or know, is there's very, very little about this person. So and that's one of the main reasons that we go. If you do a Google search on her, you will find like 1 or 2 items that list very bare minimum of who she was. What we do know is that she was a Haitian immigrant, like I said before. She immigrated to Cuba in 1918. She became a tireless promoter of Haitian culture in her new country and a much-loved cultural treasure. So that is why the festival is in her name, to honor her. And our speakers today, especially Ana Delia Reyes, will have much more to say about her. So our presentation, like I said before, Dr. Syrah and myself did a paper presentation, a PowerPoint presentation called Preserving and Archiving Haitian-Cuban Connections, from Ana Caona to Eva Gaspar and Hilario and Philly. Hilario and Philly, I'll talk to you a little bit later about who they are, but they were very important and instrumental for the festival. Okay, so our presentation was basically, Dr. Syrah talked about the HSI Institute, which everyone is familiar with who's here, and you can see some of our past events. So that was the first thing. So we talked about our goals and tried to tell people what it is that the Haitian Studies Institute does. Talked a little bit about our archives. We currently have about 8 collections in our growing archives. So this was really a pitch to the Haitian Cubans to think about the Institute as a repository for our archives. So this just shows a little bit of our past programming. And then Dr. Syrah, talked about the shared history of the 2 countries, the Taino ancestors, which Dr. Syrah mentioned in her introduction today, our colonial experience, our experience of slavery, and of course, revolution. So when you think about Haiti, the first thing you think about is the Haitian Revolution, and Cuba, the Cuban Revolution, but not the 1950s. The Cuban Revolution goes way back to like 1800s, slave revolts in the Caribbean. So then I started my part of the presentation and I talked about what is an archive. Because remember, this push to go to Cuba was really to talk about archives. So I talked about the importance of archives, why we need memory for archiving, the need for the archives, and how archives can shape the future history. And what I presented here in Soccer Dreams is an oral history project that I was doing as a grad student at the CUNY Graduate Center. It is an oral history project about Haitian soccer players. So I wanted to show an example of what could be possible, the collaboration between a Haitian archives and a Cuban archives. And I just shared this quote, this Michel Wolf-Tuyo quote with everyone. Michel Wolf-Tuyo was a Haitian anthropologist, very well known in the Africa diasporic influential thinkers. And he says, any historical narrative is a bundle of silences. Well, I think a lot of the archives, what we try to do when we collect them is to undo those bundles of silences. So just like in my oral history project of unsilencing these soccer players, wanted to touch base with other oral history projects that might be doing the same thing. So I use that only as an example. So some highlights. So we did video interviews, as you could see here. I don't know, here, these were the organizers, and this is Felipe Nicaror. Yes, he was one of the primary organizers. We did interviews with them. This is Hilario Batista Felix. He has he's a cultural worker. He has a radio program. He has a library called Jean-Jacques Dessalines Library in Creole. And he also runs the Basile Creole Festival every year. So he is a very, very important key person to know in Cuba. And he also came to the Institute before with the Creole Conference Symposium. So he knows us. So he was very, very good to know and to interview. And of course, we have Dr. Syrah here in our local radio station. And this is Felipe, what's the last name? I keep forgetting his last name. Nicanor, giving out pencils and this poster about the Newkirk Avenue station to the group. And this is Nago. You're going to see them a little bit if you get the clip up performing. So that's one of the highlights. The other highlights where we had these wonderful interdisciplinary presentation. And Francisco Ramirez, especially, I point him out here because he is a wealth of information, and we do have his contact, and he's willing to share with us on images and documentation about Haitians in Cuba. So his research goes decades and decades past. So he did a presentation. We have Dr. Lois here, who did a presentation on music. You know, so and then this presenter here presented on she's a doll maker and she presented on art practices and she came with her son. So academic was involved, and this is the cultural performances. I'm gonna try and see if I can play. And this group is the NAGO group that Felipe is the artistic director of. I don't know how can I share the video. Nice, that's it. Is the sound up? Sound on the screen. Hmm? Can you see it? It's not on the screen at all. Okay. No sound. Well, I'm gonna show all the videos together. So like, yeah, after this, and then go back. So maybe I won't be able to show the videos. Projecting it, and then we can speak to it a little bit, and then we move on. Yeah. You can play, you know, the sound, and you can speak a little bit. Okay, so this in the sound. Okay, so this is the group Nago performing. One of the things that we want to do with all these video clips is also identify what particular dance and rhythm that they're playing. So this was just a tiny, tiny clip of it. Okay, we go to the we have in the video here. Said, but somebody's right there. If we can see one, that would be super. Yeah, yeah. With sound and. Let's do the youth dance. Let's do the youth dance. It's much more important. So this is the youth group. One of the things that was very great was that it's youth centered.
Que mantienen nuestras tradiciones.
How can I move it forward?
Aquí en el municipio.
How can I move it forward?
Vamos a darle un aplauso a chicos del monte.
You leave it alone, leave it alone, leave it alone. So we'll just play, there was a part that I wanted to play, but we'll just play it for 5 minutes and let it be. Let it be. Let it.
Somebody.
Yeah. Also, there is stuff. Go back to the house. Yeah. But it's really good. He's really good. Hold on. He was one of the best dancers. It's really good. All right, so that was, I'm wondering, so I wish I could show you clips of the other videos, but let me just go back to 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 the presentation. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Okay, the PowerPoint. I'm going to the slide, right? Where's the slide? Not here. Where I go? Here? But I want to, okay, cool. All right, so this was one of the highlights of cultural performances. And then this is what you just saw, the youth dancing. There was a very much an involvement of young people involved. So that I think we found that very refreshing and encouraging, you know. And then this is a cultural home of a cultural center right there. This is a square that you see all the people were sitting and the stage was right here. Now this, we went inside here and they showed us. The first floor is a kind of like a museum going on, but the top floor is in deep need of repairs. I was gonna say reparations. That too.
And that too.
And this was a video I wish I could show you. This was a part of a program where the dance groups entered. And the way they entered in the street, it was a joyous celebration. And then here they are again after everyone has entered, which was like a big dance party. Another highlights, we were invited to a local ceremony, award presentation. This was a big bonfire. I think it was called Chasing Out the Devil. Yeah, Chasing Out the Devil. So, and then what was also good was that at the end, we had a meeting, a brief, well, it wasn't 2 weeks, like an hour and a half of talking with the local organizers about the conference itself, the logistics, what could have gone better, what went right, so they could next year do this again. But one of the key things that we said was, as visitors coming in, was that how can we make Violeta kind of like the Haitian cultural capital of Cuba? How can we make this festival really stand out and pop? Because this is the 25th anniversary of it. And from my understanding, people still come, but not a lot of people might know about it. So, and possible takeaways, I'll just talk about a few. How can we envision a Haitian Cuban digital archives? What might that look like? We're working on a Wikipedia page from Eva Gaspar. Dr. Lois is helping us do that. We do have a stub for Eva Gaspar, and we're working on researching it and getting her biography on that. And then a short video documentary about the festival and the significance of it. We're also talking with Dr. Emmanuel about his archival research to give it to us, hopefully. And also next festival, more connections, just more and more of the same. So thank you. And this was a big group, part of the group that went. So thank you very much. So, Dr. Emmanuel will talk now, followed by Dr. Veda Vidal and then Ana Delia Reyes. Okay, so Dr. Pereira is first. He'll talk for about 20 minutes. Dr. Vidal will talk for about 15-20 minutes, and Ana Delia Reyes will talk about 15-20 minutes.
And I'm gonna say, in one of the Greta and
Okay, so you want, Dr. Vidal to begin first?
Yes, and then
Okay,
he'll come and then you want, you first to do the tour.
okay, no problem. So, Dr. Vidal, so you will go first. followed-
Sure.
And then Ana Delia. And Ana Delia is going to need a interpreter.
Yeah, and there's translations.
Okay, all right.
Hello.
Aló,
Um,
Grete.
Hi, Ana Delia. Un placer ver a usted.
El placer es mío, un gusto verte. Hace tiempo que no te veía.
Sí, verdad, verdad.
Bueno, me parece.
Bueno, yo tengo una presentación PowerPoint. I have a PowerPoint to share with the group. But in order to share it, the host needs to enable my participation as a host, I think.
Grete, me dijeron
Sí.
que me iban a poner un traductor. ¿Sabe que no sé hablar inglés?
Ah, sí. Entonces, ¿sabe? Es Immanuel que va a traducir para usted.
Me dijeron que alguien me iba a traducir, no sé si es Manuel. De no tal previsto, pues me mandaron un correo que alguien me iba a hacer la traducción, pero de no existir alguien, no sería para la próxima.
Okay.
Ok.
Ana Delia's asking who's gonna translate for her when she
Bueno,
later.
voy a llamar a mi hija para que me traduzca un poco.
Okay.
Ari, ven acá.
Entonces, Ana Delia, yo voy a presentar ahora, después Emmanuel y después usted.
Ok.
Y va a buscar a tu hija para traducir.
Vamos a ver porque mi hija, ahora yo estoy aquí en Canadá, entonces no sé si mi hija tiene que salir a trabajar, si no da tiempo, bueno, sería para la próxima.
Okay.
Ok.
O si no hay persona que puede traducir mejor que yo, obviamente yo voy a ofrecer mi voluntad.
Oh, ok. Ok.
Ana Delia is asking who's going to be translating for her, and I said, if
We're
there's no one
saying-
better, I'll do it.
Well, okay, then the
Okay.
daughter, if that's the case, that's fine, but we have a translator on, not a translator, I'm so sorry, an interpreter on site. So.
Good, good, good.
Move, you go, we're gonna mute her, and now you can share screen, and then we'll proceed with Emmanuel, and then we'll close up with Anadelia and whoever she chooses to translate to enter.
Yeah, it's probably better if it's not me. I'm not a
No,
seasoned
we
translator in
have,
any
we
way.
have, we have one on site.
Good.
Ujú.
Okay. So there. Can everybody hear me and can everybody see the slideshow? Was that a yes? Well, I'll just go ahead and start. Please let me know, tech folks and hosts,
We can
if
hear
you have
you.
any trouble
We can
hearing
hear
me. You can hear me, great. So my name is Greta Vidal, and my research centers on the Haitian diaspora in Cuba. And my research has largely been based in Santiago, which is in eastern Cuba. I've spent time in other Haitian heritage communities like Holguín, Guantánamo, Las Tunas, Camagüey, Ciego de Ávila, and Havana. And my research has focused on people and organizations that promote Haitian identity in Cuba. So a lot of what has been written about Cuban, music, Cuban dance, spiritual systems in Cuba is actually written about traditions that originated in Havana. And Havana is thought of as Cuba's Latin American capital city. On the other hand, Santiago, which is on the opposite end of the island, is known for its more Caribbean character. And Santiago is actually much closer to both Haiti and Jamaica than it is to the capital of Cuba, Havana. Migrants from other Caribbean countries, particularly Haiti, have figured really heavily in Eastern Cuba's cultural mix. However, this has been largely overlooked by scholars. And to put it in some perspective, during 3 centuries of slavery, approximately 800,000 Africans were involuntarily brought to Cuba. During just the first 3 decades of the 20th century, somewhere between 300,000 and 400,000, possibly as many as 500,000 Haitians came to Cuba. And we're going to go back to that slide for a moment. So you can see here how close by Eastern Cuba is to Haiti. And you can see here where Santiago is in Cuba. Actually, we'll go back to this. So Haitian laborers came to Eastern Cuba in the early 20th century to cut sugar cane and to pick coffee. And today, the communities of their children, grandchildren, sometimes great-great-grandchildren, call themselves Haitiano Cubano, so Cuban Haitian. Some families still speak Creole Haitien, Haitian Creole, still cook Haitian-style recipes, maintain dance and music traditions. And I also found that one of the primary ways that communities expressed their Haitianness was via performance troupes, festivals, and let's see. Here's a photo of a festival in Santiago de Cuba displaying both of the flags, and also voodoo spiritual practices. Okay, I'm gonna go to here. So I want to give a little overview of the history of Haitian migration to Cuba. Haitian laborers were called braceros, for like brazos or strong arms, and most arrived in Cuba between the 1910s and the 1930s. This was a time when the Cuban sugar industry was expanding. So Cuba had been a Spanish colony, and during most of the second half of the 1800s, Cuba fought a series of wars of independence from Spain. 3 different wars. They finally triumphed in 1898. Cuba became its own nation. And many parts of the country were decimated by war. Industry and agriculture in places was in ruins. So they invited in North American capital. Americans, also some Europeans, especially English, purchased huge tracts of land and started what are called in Cuba centrales or centrals, but that's the Cuban word for sugar factory, sugarcane factory, sugarcane production. And this period was roughly coterminous also with the US occupation of Haiti from 1915 to 1934. So these new sugar corporations in Cuba need workers. Parts of the peasant population, the rural population in Haiti have been traumatized by the US occupation. So Cuban sugar interests begin to heavily recruit in Haiti. There were other braceros as well from the Bahamas, from Jamaica, but Haitians were by far the largest group of agricultural workers. The sugar corporations also knew that as temporary foreign laborers and non-citizens, Haitians would have, and other foreign workers from the Caribbean would have fewer rights. They couldn't demand better wages, and that left them at the mercy, to some extent, of the business practices of the sugar industry. Now, most of the braceros, the plan was to save money, working a season or some seasons in Cuba, and then go back to Haiti with enough money to buy a farm or get married, maybe start a little small business. But like Manuel, protagonist of Jacques Roumain's classic Masters of the Dew. Many of you have probably read it, Gouvernateur de la Rosée. He returned penniless to his native village after 15 years of working in Cuba. And as well as the protagonist of that novel, many of the Haitians who went to work the safras, the sugar harvests, and to cut coffee in the to pick coffee in the off season, their opportunities, the hoped for opportunities, didn't materialize. Many of the braceros weren't literate, so it hampered their skills at negotiating their contracts. They were often forced to buy their basic goods in company script at a company store. And so over time, working season after season and not earning enough to return to Haiti, many began to set down roots in Cuba, forming relationships with Cuban, Cuban women, gradually establishing themselves. And during the Depression of the 1930s, Cuba began to forcibly repatriate, especially Haitians, foreigners, foreign workers on Cuban soil. And many of the Haitians retreated deep into the Sierra Maestra Mountains to avoid these waves of deportations between 33, 35, 37, 38. And since then, secluded and tight-knit communities are part of what have helped people of Haitian descent in Cuba maintain their language, maintain music, dance traditions, and spiritual practices. Now, historically, Haitian laborers were the lowest strata in Cuban society. They weren't citizens, they had few rights, and until recently, the maintenance of their beliefs, their traditions, their culture was associated in Cuba with their relative rural isolation. And the first ethnographers ethnomusicologists made a few trips to all of the Cuban provinces in the 1970s. And they noted that there were some folks living there who had different songs and dances, different songs and music in another language. But they tended to kind of classify it as people preserving their sort of picturesque Haitian customs. But today, Haitian identity in Cuba is really less of this kind of fragment of cultural survival than a decision. If being Haitian was synonymous with being disadvantaged in Cuba, why wouldn't people of Haitian descent assimilate and just disappear into a wider Afro-Cuban population? This is a question that I asked as I was doing research. And while some Cubans of Haitian descent have assimilated, many go to great efforts to showcase their culture. And Haitiano-Cubano communities in Cuba strive to incorporate Haitianness into the way that Cuba is imagined as a nation. And part of what I did in my research was explore the relationship of Haitian Cubans to the socialist state. The continuation of Haitian customs today is no longer linked with isolation, but actually exactly the opposite. Because in socialist Cuba, folklore has become a valuable resource. Folklore demonstrates the unity of a multiracial and multi-ethnic nation. Folklore attracts tourists. So music, dance, and rituals associated with voodoo, for example, and other Afro-diasporic religions in Cuba have been reimagined or folklorized for the public stage. And today, Cuba's Haitian communities are increasingly linked with heritage festivals, art exhibitions, cultural institutes, music promoters, and the tourism industry. And this, I think of it as an economy of folklore, has begun to create new careers and new opportunities for people of Haitian heritage in Cuba. And Haitiano Cubanos have themselves found innovative ways to transform what was once the abject into the now exotic, and are gaining a public presence in Cuba increasingly over the decades, especially through folkloric performance. And I want to talk a little bit about the role of folklore in the socialist state. So after the revolution of 1959, Fidel Castro brought many changes to the island, and particularly to rural areas. The socialist government focused on rural development, literacy campaigns, public health initiatives, funded education, sports, and the arts. And the idea was that a cultural and artistic flourishing ambit would show or confirm that the socialist regime was creating a better society. And it would show that race and class inequalities were being overcome by socialism, and that as long as the arts were no longer the domain of the bourgeoisie. And folkloric dance troupes were founded throughout the island to showcase particularly the island's African heritage cultures. At the time of the revolution, the music and dance of Haitian heritage settlements were largely unknown to urban Cuban audiences. But a few researchers and event producers began to notice and appreciate the potential of these art forms. And one such institution was the Casa del Caribe in Santiago. And it was founded by Joel James Joel James Figueroa, who was many things: an historian, an actor, a dramaturg, and the Casa was founded in 1982. So this is happening a little bit later than the wave of the founding of folklore troupes in Western Cuba around Havana and Matanzas, which happened in the 1960s. So this institute, the Casa del Caribe, is devoted to researching and presenting local culture, sometimes through unorthodox means. And here's a slide. This is a large painting of Joel James Joel James presiding over a meeting, a workshop at the Casa del Caribe. And I was told a story about how the first dance troupes and music troupes by people of Haitian descent in the Haitian communities were founded. And this is in the 1980s, late 70s and early 80s. So Joel goes up to a village called La Caridad. It's also called Ramon de Guaninao, up in the Sierra Maestra Mountains, about an hour's drive from Santiago. He goes up there with one of the founding members of the Casa del Caribe, Alexis Alarcon, who together they are co-authors of the only book that's been written specifically about voodoo in Cuba. It's called El Voodoo in Cuba. And they get invited up there, and Alexis has grown up next to the Haitian community, who used to work on the plantations of the area and now work for the socialist agricultural cooperatives and communes. And the two of them get invited one night to watch dancing and drumming and singing. And Joel says, oh my gosh, we have to document this. And Alexi says, well, why? And Joel says, this is voodoo. this is the stuff we've been reading about in books by Metro and Corlander. It's here in Cuba. So they go, they eventually start inviting, actually the next year, people from Ramon de Guaninao to perform at the Casa del Caribe. So Joel James, the founder of the Casa, is kind of credited with discovering, entre comillas, the magnitude of Haitian cultural influence in Eastern Cuba. And eventually, more and more people of Haitian descent in Cuba are themselves anthropologists, ethnomusicologists, administrators of museums, culture brokers, and troupes that perform music, dance, and culture get formed all over the eastern part of the island, also parts of the central Cuba, like Ciego de Avila, where you all took a trip, and also in Havana. But when the first group comes to perform in the city, so this is a time when the revolution is officially atheist and doesn't support religious expression. And the regime at the time believes that socialist education will gradually fade away beliefs in religion. So voodoo is first put on the stage in 1983, and it causes a stir. And I have a quote from Abelardo Lardoet, who is a founding member of the Casa, and he says, "The party made a fuss. The Ministry of Culture was less problematic, at least intellectuals ran that. But people from state security came to the first public voodoo performance and discussed stopping it, forcing the participants to stop. Joel had some battles to fight. There was tension with the authorities who had a hard time understanding why we would want to put something like voodoo on stage. It seemed too raw, it seemed too overtly religious, and it seemed too African. But, and here comes a famous quote. Folks say that Joel was irascible, and he told the government and the Communist Party to let things go ahead. And he asked the authorities if they wanted the drums drumming in favor of the revolution or against it. And that became a famous saying: do you want the drums drumming in favor of the revolution or drumming against it? So the Casa del Caribe went on to organize a large festival every summer, and there are always many Haitiano Cubano groups that participate. Here's the central park or square of the city, Parque Céspedes, with a crowd of people. This is Matiti, who is in one of the Haitian folklore groups. She's a wonderful singer. This is one of the Haitian groups performing. Here's another one in the festival. Roi Diable performing. Okay.
And Dr. Vidal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I'm just keeping time. So we have about 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes left.
I got to go quickly then. Well, today, Haitiano Cubanos are no longer waiting to be discovered by anthropologists. And I spent some time with an artists colony called El Taller Experimental en Negro, the Black Experimental Studio. It's an artist collective in Palma Soriano, and the group includes sculptors and actors, musicians, dancers, ritual specialists, and they have gotten some land from the government. This is a picture of it, and they are creating a commune, and they want to make plant plants of different colors in such a way that if you were to fly over it, it would look like a giant veve. It would be called the Veve of Afa, which is a voodoo symbol. So it's both an artist colony and an ecological shrine. And this is where it's going to happen. This is a little plan they have with there'll be a temple for Ezeli who's a voodoo deity, different cardinal points. These are some people from the Haitian community meeting with the guy with the mullet is the then Minister of Culture in Cuba. And Tallera Negro does these wonderful projects where they make a very elaborate, now they call them veve, they're like mandalas of different colors of sand. Here they are at Expo Cuba. They've formed a sister city with Berkeley. Here they are at the Festival del Caribe, again with the wonderful mandalas. And this is their Kai Mister. So this is a little voodoo temple, which they've created for the festival. And inside, Papito, who is a ritual specialist in Ungan, is doing consultations. They've made a beautiful center, Potomitan, using local greenery. They've made different areas for making, for greeting the different spirits. Here's actually Martha Jean-Claude, who was mentioned earlier in connection with the Eva Gaspar Festival. They've made a shrine for her. I'll skip over some of the art that they make. I also wanted to introduce you to Pablo Milanés, who is probably one of the most famous ritual specialists or Ungans in Cuba. He has a family dance troupe. And he has traveled as far away as Brazil as kind of a cultural ambassador from Eastern Cuba. And it's kind of ironic that he's traveling to different festivals, heritage and folk festivals throughout Latin America. And part of what he does is he gets mounted by spirit, by voodoo spirit. And he does machete and knife play and does that without getting harmed while spirit is with him. So he's this cultural ambassador going into trance, basically, being mounted by spirit from a secular atheist society, which I think is kind of interesting. Here's his family. And whoops, there is a table for the a manger blanc and a table for the ancestors.
1 minute.
Okay. Well, I'll just introduce you super quickly to a little town called Thompson. This is their one-room school. They have 6 students in the school, but they have 25 members in their dance troupe, which rehearses and performs throughout Cuba. Actually, that's my last slide. And in conclusion, I just wanted to say that while Haitian laborers and Haitian and their descendants were once viewed in Cuba as holding onto these old-fashioned traditions from their homeland because of rural isolation and poverty, now culture ministries, festival producers, conference programmers are active, as the Haitiano Cubanos are active and have taken on those roles themselves in highlighting their culture as part of Cuban national identity and also a medium to celebrate their vigor, their self-determination, to create a folkloric economy, to travel, and to set up inclusion and citizenship on their own terms, including the frontiers of the eco-artistic avant-garde, as we saw in the artist colony, Veve Ofa. And that was what I wanted to share with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have, Dr. Emmanuel Ferreira. Ready? Okay.
So, the what I want to do after Greta, so I kind of will make a slight modification. So I don't repeat what she has been saying, but I'll give you a bit more of a context. So the question, yes?
Do you want me to stop my screen share? Emmanuel, are you gonna do a PowerPoint? Or should I just leave this?
No, you.
Well, you'll full screen Emmanuel if he doesn't.
No, that's fine. That's good. Okay. So essentially, the question that we should ask ourselves is, how did all of this get to Cuba? You know, you would think that many people are not aware that there are so much Haitian culture in Cuba. I've heard as much as 1.2 million Haitian descendants living in Cuba, almost practically 10% of the population. Creole is the next language spoken in Cuba. I have been able to do my research in Cuba and really get along basically just by speaking Creole. Um, so let's deal with the idea of how did all of this happen in Cuba. So we're going to go back, and we're going to go back to as far as Christopher Columbus. So 1492, Christopher Columbus got there, and there's a lot of people that want to act as if that the native, that is the Taino people that were there, passively and accepted oppression, did not resist, and that somehow they eventually become extinct. I push back against this because history tells us that Kaonabo and Anakaona fought and resisted uh, against the oppression of the Europeans. Atwe, in particular, not only did he fight in Haiti, but he went to Cuba. So in this talk, I'm always going to try to keep bringing the Cuban connection. So Atwe went to Cuba with about 400 fighters and told the Cubans, look, the Europeans are going to come over here. They're going to try to kill you. They're going to try to take your land. And they're going to try to convert you to their religion. And he said that their God is gold. All of this they're going to do because they want your resources. That's why they're going to come over here. So this would be an obvious Cuban connection. So what did I learn from that interaction? What I learned is this. The Taino did not see themselves as purely Haitians living in Haiti, Cubans living in Cuba, a group living in Puerto Rico. They really saw themselves as a people that occupies the Caribbean islands. So there was this level of togetherness going on there. Fast forward to the Europeans taking resources out of Haiti, and eventually out of Cuba, and eventually out of Mexico. And one of the sites that became a problem to them is Tortuga Island. Tortuga Island was the place where the pirates resided. There, they harassed continually the ships going by. They would take the gold. I was going to say steal, but how can you steal from somebody who is stealing resources from another people? So Tortuga Island became this pirate site. So eventually, the Europeans got upset with all of this, and they said, look, we've got to deal with these people. And it happens that at the same time, the French was going into the part that we now call Haiti, that third where the mountains were. So Spain, being smart, in 1697, ceded the third of that island to France. Okay? Then eventually what happened is that they got together and broke up the pirate colonies in Tortuga. Well, where did they go? They went into Haiti and started setting up plantations, and essentially you could say this was the beginning of the nations that we call today Haiti. So I wanna bring your attention to a pirate culture that essentially started a nation that continually had upheavals and problems. So the fight continues. And so now we end up having Padre Jean. Padre Jean in 1679 revolted, started killing people. He went into Tortuga. They found him in Tortuga, eventually they killed him. Then after that came Matandale in 1758. Then after that came Bookman. Now what I want to bring to your attention is that each and every single time this revolution, this fighting, this resistance keeps going on, people migrated. But there was other things that also went on that I want to bring to your attention. And it's very important. The Maroon communities. Without the Maroon communities, there would be no Haiti today. The Maroon communities coming from the Black Mountains, coming from the Bahoruco Mountains, came down and joined the African slaves. And it is that union that eventually overcame the French. But Maroon communities, I want to bring to your attention, existed everywhere. It existed in Brazil, existed in Jamaica. What is also important about the Maroon communities is that it negates this concept that the native just died out. Because who lived in those communities? It was natives and Africans. And what happened in those communities? They shared information, herbs, how to make poison, how to go down there and deal with those monsters in the colonies. So the Maroon communities became a site of resistance, but it also became a site of cultural exchange. It also became a site of spiritual exchange. And more importantly, it also became a site for genetic survival. Because in those communities, blacks and natives mixed, they had children. And what is the impact of this? And this is one of the things that many of the scholars didn't see. Well, one of the things that was killing the native was disease from the white man. Well, when you start having children with the blacks who had been dealing with the white man, you develop immunity from some of the things that was killing the natives that did not mix with the blacks. So not only there were strength in the fact that they got together and fought, genetically, they also became stronger. And that's one of the reasons that today, I don't subscribe to this concept, oh, that the Tainos died out, the native died out. That's why also today, voodooism will tell you that within the voodoo culture, you have Taino inflections in there. When I went to the Dominican Republic, I met a woman who called herself a mambosa, meaning that she was able to call deities Taino deities. And she said that whenever she get around waterways, that's where she did her work. The stones and the water impacted her. So you had resistance that came from the Tainos in the Maroon communities, all of that mixed in, all of that transferred from Haiti to Cuba, to Puerto Rico, to most of the islands. Because remember, the Taino was all over and they communicated with each other. Fast forward, now I want to deal with what happens after Bookman. Okay. What happened after the revolution, that is from 1791 to 1804, is migration. Now migration become a real issue. And one of the first places they went to is Cuba. The next place they went to was New Orleans. That's why we ended up with jazz, Creole food, beignets. A lot of the things that you see today, American culture was tremendously impacted by it, but also Cuban culture was tremendously impacted by it. Then we end up with the concept of tumba francesa. Tumba francesa is like they call it French drum, but really it's African drum as it migrated from Haiti. A lot of research has been done in that area. So you see a lot of tumba francesa cultures in Santiago de Cuba, in Guantanamo, in Eastern Cuba, but it didn't stay there. And eventually it migrated down to Havana to some extent in various forms. I'm talking about the drums. But the tumba francesa culture is well set in Eastern Cuba. Now, what is the next thing that happened? As a result of migration, thousands of people moved to Cuba. But then what happened? Spain got concerned and worried. Oh my God, we have all those Black French coming over here with their ideas. They're going to overthrow the system. Then what happened? That they kicked them out. Where did they go? In 1809, tons of ships, thousands of people went to New Orleans. The population of New Orleans doubled as a result of that. Doubles. Then you started having French schools. You started having differentiation in, because a lot of those musicians coming out of Haiti were classically trained. So you have uptown musicians, downtown musicians, but many scholars who looked at New Orleans cultures think, well, these are Cuban musicians. Well, yes, they came from Cuba after migrating from Haiti to Cuba. So they migrated from Haiti to Cuba to New Orleans, or Haiti to Jamaica, from Jamaica to New Orleans, so even to Trinidad. So you have this migration that kept going on. But what is the next thing that happened? We started exporting revolutions, which was the things that the United States was terrified of. Thank you. The United States was terrified of revolution. And that was one of the reasons that the Spaniards kicked out the people that had moved from Haiti to Cuba in 1809. Well, they were right, because in 1812, you have the Aponte Rebellion. You had guys talking about, well, we're going to burn plantations, we're going to return to Haiti, or we're going to take over this. All of this happens as a result of migration. So there was a lot of movement that went to Cuba as well as Haiti. And what is the next thing that happened? It wasn't all bad, because guess what? after the revolution in Haiti, or should I say, before the revolution in Haiti, the sugar business in Cuba was nowhere because Haiti sucked all the air, sucked all the money out of the air. Everything was Haiti. But after the revolution, guess what happened? Cuba started making money using sugar. And what does that mean? They needed more people, people with experience. And where were these people coming from? They were coming from Haiti. There's a gentleman by the name of Pierre Dumas. Pierre Dumas came, and I'm using the Dumases because it's a very famous family name. And I found out that it must have been a large family. The Dumases are showing up everywhere. Pierre Dumas migrated and had a plantation in Havana or around the Havana area. So you had a lot of movement impacting Cuba, impacting here in the United States, particularly the New Orleans area. So we were exporting revolution. But there's another thing that happened. A lot of people talked about the Louisiana Purchase, but nobody talks about the Florida sale. Florida, a lot of us don't ask the question, Florida used to belong to Spain. How did we end up with Florida? Well, we ended up with Florida as a result of the fact that Haitian warriors, in particular, you had Louis Horry, you had Severo Courtois, who went and took over Florida and declared the Republic de las Floridas. Quincy Adams came down. Listen, these guys were so serious, they actually had a constitution. They published it in the newspapers. They freed the slaves, and they decided that they're going to have, a republic. They kicked out Spain. The United States came down, kicked them out, have Florida, and then eventually forced Spain to negotiate Florida, and they bought Florida. So now you had the United States, after buying Louisiana. Now understand now, the territory of Florida went from here all the way to the borders of Alabama or Mississippi. It was huge. All of that happened as a result of migration and the Haitian Revolution. But one of the things that we must do, we must redefine the concept of Haiti. What is Haiti? Haiti, in fact, is the island of Haiti, now which we now call Haiti in the Dominican Republic. I reject that. What we have is the island of Haiti. And what we have is French Haiti and Spanish Haiti. And that every time something happens, then people from both sides, whether you spoke Spanish or whether you spoke French, you end up having to move somewhere. You either going to Cuba or you going to the United States. Another thing that caused movement and is what happened in 1915. In 1915, the United States took over Haiti, set up plantation system in both the Dominican Republic and Cuba. 5 minutes, thank you. Set up a plantation system in both. And as I was told by a very old man in Cuba, if you see Haitians in Cuba, it's because of the United States. The Haitians were very well known and very well respected for being great agricultural workers. They knew how to work. They knew how to work the land. They knew how to work sugarcane. They knew how to work in the what we call the centrales, where they make the sugarcane. They know they know our business very well. So consequently, American plantation owners love to hire Haitians. And I found out through my research in Cuba, most of them came from the Okai area, from the south of Haiti, which is kind of odd. You would think that they would be coming from the north of there, but no. A lot of them came from the Okai area. Now, what happened after that? Well, the sugar business went boom. they lost money tremendously, and then they wanted the Haitians out of there. And the Haitians had moved there, set up house, bought land, had their little livestock, and we're doing pretty good. They didn't want to leave. And this is one of the things that Greta mentioned about. Well, the Cuban government started killing them. Now, 1937 is an important year. During 1937, in March, the Cuban government started trying to round up the Haitians, trying to send them back, killing them, and drowning them in the ocean. They would put them on the ship, and if you didn't want to go, they would dump you into the ocean. In October of that same year, Trujillo killed Haitians as well. Now, the Haitian government had contracts with the Cuban government and the Dominican government to give them workers. They knew what was going on. So the Haitian government is complicit in the killing of the Haitians. The president of Haiti did not want those workers to come back. Because why would you want all those black workers back? And you're talking about a superstructure that is made up of light-skinned people, both in Cuba, in Haiti, in the Dominican Republic. They didn't want those people back. So they killed them. And then they had this farce, this joke of a negotiation between Cuba, Mexico, the United States, and gave money to Stenio Vincent, who was part of the trick. So the Haitian government had been killing Haitians forever. They never gave a damn about us. So consequently, thousands of people died in 1937 simply because of the fact that they were hard workers and they were black. I want to advance this concept that the reason that Haiti is the way it is because Haiti started with piracy at its core, meaning that these are people who really don't have a home. What they do is that they go to a place, they colonize it, and then they use it so they can make money. That's the Haitian elite. That's the Haitian government. We have never had a government that represented the Haitian people. And hence the problem that we have today. The man that came and stopped all of this in Cuba, the same thing could have been going on in Cuba with Fidel Castro. If you think about it, in the Dominican Republic, they're chasing us, putting us into trains like cattle. And every damn time they please, they kick you out of the country, doing the same thing that the Cuban government was doing in 1937. Why is it not happening in Cuba now? That's all I got.
Thank you so much. So now it's Ana de la Reyes with the interpreter.
¿Ya?
Señora Ana, ¿se puede empezar, por favor?
Buenas tardes, noche. Eh, buenas tardes. No sé si ya tengo el traductor. ¿Ya? Ok,
Espera un momentito.
ok.
Hola,
Hola,
por favor, se puede empezar ahora.
buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Hola. ¿Ya puedo comenzar?
Sí, por favor, que vaya.
Ok. Buenas tardes para todos. Muchas gracias por darme la posibilidad de participar con ustedes a esta conferencia. Y en esta ocasión hablaré no como todos, sino hablaré de mí misma, porque muchos que me conocen saben que soy la que creó el evento de Bagaspal. Al inicio del programa pusieron muchas imágenes de Bagaspal, de los festivales que se hacen 1 de enero.
Un momentito,
Así
por
que,
favor. Sí, hay que traducir para ellos también.
ok,
Por favor. Said good evening. It's a pleasure for her to be part of this activity. And he has dedicated himself all the time possible to be ready for that work. Se puede conseguir, por favor. Vaya.
ok. Pues nada, hablaré de mí misma, cómo fue que surgió el Festival de Bagaspal, que en estos momentos tiene un impacto a nivel nacional e internacional. Soy descendiente de haitiano, mis padres son de Haití. En esta ocasión tengo que hablar de mí porque de mí fue que surge el festival. Así que participo de dos culturas, la cultura cubana.
Gracias. She said that she is this Asian descent and she is part of it, and they have come to an agreement with the government that they will be able to make something so many things together. and she is really delighted that it happened, and she's ready to go forward. Vaya, por favor.
Cuando mis padres llegaron aquí, bueno, ellos vinieron de Haití, mi papá vino en la primera oleada, porque todos conocen que en la cultura haitiana hubo dos oleadas, dos entradas de los haitianos a trabajar en Cuba.
Gracias. She said that uh, her parents came from Haiti, and from this reality, she has dedicated herself to build up what she is still doing, and she thinks that she can do it better over the time.
Ok, pero bueno, en esa ocasión los haitianos que llegaron a Cuba, ellos entraron con su cultura y la introdujeron a la cultura cubana.
And the Haitians that came, yes, over there, they have brought their culture, and which is now part of the Cuban culture itself.
Nosotros, como yo, como hija descendiente, aprendí el idioma, su cultura y su costumbre.
Y así sorry. I'm sorry, simple. Yes, so this is how we are happen to get in touch, to continue and to know better of our culture, because we haven't been in Haiti, but the culture is with us, and we are trying to protect this culture.
Ok, en el año 81 se inauguró las Casas de Cultura en Cuba, en el año 79-81.
In 1981, they have started a program where they have a house of culture for Haitian culture in Cuba.
Comienzo a trabajar en la Casa de Cultura como profesora de danza y en esta ocasión como hija de descendiente y que ama su cultura, me dieron la tarea de hacer una investigación de la cultura haitiana.
Yeah, I'm working in this program as a dance teacher, and everything's still going on this way. And I am delighted to be able to do that, to pursue the work.
Los haitianos se asentaron desde Guantánamo hasta prácticamente Ciego de Ávila, que antiguamente se llamaba provincia de Camagüey. Quiere decir que la emigración fue de Santiago, de Guantánamo, hasta Ciego de Ávila. Y la tarea mía era hacer el acta a nivel nacional de la costumbre de la cultura haitiana.
My work is try to go through these different locations, like from Guantanamo to Camagüey and Santiago, and teach them about the Haitian culture, so that the Haitian culture is be better known among the Haitian descent living in the island.
Los haitianos vivían en comunidades y en esas comunidades que vivían los haitianos hacían sus fiestas tradicionales en cada comunidad.
Yeah, the Haitians themselves live in community in different parts, and it is going fine. They are doing fine in this area.
Era un fenómeno cultural que había en cada comunidad de los haitianos en esta zona.
It's a cultural phenomenon. What's happening there, as far as the Haitians themselves get together and live in community.
Específicamente en Violeta, en Sabicú, había un asentamiento cultural que hacían comida para los dioses 14, 15, que era de Santa Teresa.
Y así se pasa en dos comunidades. No puedo acordar, I cannot, se puede decir otra vez los nombres de estas dos comunidades. Otra vez, por favor. Que me digan.
Había comunidades, o sea, habían lugares donde vivían, se asentaban los haitianos, hacían sus fiestas tradicionales.
Yes, these communities, the Haitians were able to project and present their own activities, cultural activities, and they were able to do it freely, and they enjoy doing it. And this is part of my work over there to get along with them.
Bueno, ahí la cultura investigó acerca de la música, la danza, baile, comida, y me tocó a mí esta tarea.
the cultural aspects goes to with dance, say folklore,
Baile, cultura,
yeah,
artesanía.
dance, and even food too. Those all are part of the culture that is brought there and want to remain alive in Cuba.
Hay una señora que se llamaba Eva, que era la mambó, que hacía la fiesta en ese lugar.
Y allá también tenía una señora, se llama como
Eva Gaspar.
que se llama Eva Caspar, que es un mambo, and there she's working, she's performing wonderfully.
Bueno, ahí nosotros fuimos a hacer la investigación de los bailes y hicimos una danza, pero la danza que hicimos fue una danza con los descendientes de Haití, con los mismos haitianos.
We are making research about how this is been conducted, and we have discovered that it is an active process where they work together and get the cultural activity very active there.
Haitianos ya eran mayores de 70, 80, 90, 65 años, todos eran mayores venidos de Haití.
Y todos los que tienen, sorry, all of them who have the, I mean, I mean, the age between 19 and 75. 75, yes, I'm doing it. No, don't worry, I'm doing it. My process. Don't worry, I can do it. Yeah. Haitians from 75 to 90 years old, all of them are people that are part of the group, and they are people that came from Haiti.
Cuando pasa el tiempo, ya los haitianos estaban muy viejos y se estaban muriendo.
Otra vez, por favor.
Cuando pasa el tiempo, ya esos haitianos estaban mayores y ya estaban algunos desapareciendo porque estaban mayores y había que poner entonces personas jóvenes, descendientes, que fueran los pichones a bailar.
See, task is that since these people are growing up, and as a matter of fact, they won't be very active as they used to be in the past. So the youth is something very important for them to let this continue, this process continue. Thank you. Laya.
Y entonces hice una danza que se llama Nagó, que es la danza que se presentó aquí, que bailó y fue a Festival del Caribe, fue a Santiago, a La Habana, Expo Cuba, una danza que se llama Nagó.
The dance that we call Nago is one of the tokens that they use very much just to present the Haitian culture, and it is scattered in different parts of the country where they have to present Haitian culture itself. Yes.
Todos los años, el día 14 y 15 de octubre, se hacía la fiesta Santa Teresa en Sabicú, en una comunidad.
In Sabico, every 18 and 14 and 18 October, they have performance in Cuba, in this city where the Haitian culture is at this moment. It's presented there.
Cuando la señora muere, para que no se acabara la cultura, movimos la actividad para el centro de Violeta.
When that person died, they had to move the activity to another part, like Santa Morena. That's the name? Santa Violeta?
Violeta,
Sí.
Violeta.
So they are moving to another part, which is Santa Violeta, the location called Santa Violeta. Vaya.
Bueno, ahí comenzamos entonces a hacer el festival que le pusimos como nombre Eva Gaspar, en memoria de la dueña o de la reina de la danza Nagó.
Otra vez.
Entonces, el festival, le pusimos como nombre al festival Eva Gaspar en memoria de Eva, que era la dueña, la reina de la danza.
Sí. Y este festival, this festival, they have they have coined it in honor of Gaspar, who started out, and this is the way it is going on until now.
Hebra Gaspar. Ahí en ese festival pusimos todo lo que se hacía en Sabicú, presentación de agrupaciones, quema del diablo, exposición de comidas típicas haitianas y hasta hoy el festival continúa.
This festival still continue until now, but they have followed the same pattern that used to be Eva's way, and they are doing fine until now.
Yo trabajé por 40 años en la Casa de la Cultura
I've worked for 40 years in this House of Culture
directora del Grupo Nagó
as the director of the group, of the NEGO group.
y directora de la Casa de la Cultura.
Y también, sorry, as well as director of the Casa of Culture, the House of Culture.
Casa de Cultura.
Sí, House of Culture, I translated.
Ok,
Yeah.
a los 60 ya el festival se comenzó a hacer del 2000.
And this festival started since the year 2000.
De 2000. Ya yo me retiré cuando cumplí 60 años,
Y ahora, sorry. Now I am retired because at 60.
pero hay un promotor o director municipal que se llama Felipe Nicanor,
There's a director of the municipality of Vicano.
Felipe Nicanor, que es director de Municipio de Cultura,
Se llama Felipe Vicanor, he is the director of culture,
Casa de Cultura.
the Casa Cultura, the House of Culture.
Él continúa con el legado.
He's still going on with the same activity.
Él continúa con el legado. Yo, en estos momentos,
Y until now.
ya yo me retiré, no participo de ese festival porque ahora estoy en otra dimensión.
I don't work directly with this because I'm working some other place, but I still back up the process.
Pero Feli se mantiene en la cultura haitiana en el municipio.
Is still going on and is firm in supporting and backing up the Haitian culture there.
Creo que ahora el reto que tiene la Casa de la Cultura es fomentar con otros haitianos, con haitianos de otros lugares, que fomente la cultura haitiana porque ya se han muerto todas las actividades, todos los compañeros que estaban viejos, que sabían de la cultura, se han muerto. Pero ya en cultura se ha hecho grupos infantiles de niños que están llevando la cultura adelante.
My work, what I'm trying to support now is that to make sure that the youth is well after this activity and wherever it works, so that it doesn't, we don't lose such a thing in the future.
Emmanuel es un promotor muy importante para la actividad de la cultura en 1 de enero y en Cuba la cultura haitiana. Él nos ha ayudado mucho en eso.
Emmanuel is a very important piece in supporting this activity as far as the Haitian culture is concerned.
Y en modo de conclusión, como mi presentación es hablar de mí misma, como yo hice el Festival de Gaspar, quiero
Yeah, se puede, se puede continuar, no problem.
ahora estoy en otra dimensión, ahora ya yo no estoy en el festival, se mantiene Feli, yo estoy en la iglesia trabajando con la cultura haitiana, pero con un coro, un cuarteto cantando cantos cristianos, que participé en Perú en un festival, canto cristiano y danzas haitianas, pero cristianas. En eso ahora me estoy desarrollando haciendo un evento de la cultura haitiana, pero cristiana.
I've tried myself to go further with this initiative, and I have even tried to, which churches were still there, we can try a way to have Haitian culture present even in these areas too, this is the way to strengthen the whole plan I have started over in the past and try to make it have a better future.
Y Félix Nicanor continúa con la cultura haitiana, trabajando muy bien en apoyo de Emmanuel, de la comunidad haitiana que fue a este festival. Así que el trabajo continúa.
Se puede decir que
Uy,
Oye,
¿qué pasó aquí?
Manuel no tenía éxito. ¿Es que usted dice no tenía éxito en esta iniciativa?
Este
Manuel,
Emmanuel ha participado de ese festival. Grete, que la saludo, que le doy mi cordial saludo, que nos conocemos, también ha participado en el festival. Muchas personas han participado en este festival. Para mí es un placer conocerle y verla, que hace años que no la veía, ver a Emmanuel en pantalla también, que es familia mía, que nos conocimos. Así que hablar del Festival de Violeta no alcanza una hora, ni dos, ni cuatro, ni cinco. Hay muchas cosas que hablar.
dispense, por favor. ¿Usted dice que fue un fracaso para Manuel o qué más?
Un saludo especial para Manuel, para Grete y para la señora que me invitó. Muchas gracias por su traducción.
Sí, well, she said, I thought she said that Manuel failed. No, Manuel ha acertado o se ha...
¿Eh?
Manuel, usted ha dicho de Manuel. ¿Qué dice usted de Manuel?
Primo mío, nosotros nos conocimos en este mismo problema de festival y nos conocimos y él conoce a mi familia. Yo no los conozco, pero sí conocemos a mi familia y la familia de él y la de nosotros están vinculados. Así que es una casualidad, pero él ha ido al festival, él se ha quedado en mi casa, así que es un placer.
Thank you. What I have asked her is because I thought that she said that the person failed. That's not the case. She said this is a cousin. What's your point? Come on. Yeah. You can go. Yes, you may come.
She says, best wishes to Emmanuel because part of what happened now is because of Emmanuel's input and Greta's input that they invited newer communities. So this group, HSI, that went this year
Okay.
was all because of Emmanuel Pereira.
Okay, yeah.
And she says that in a way, they are distantly related. They found that out.
Okay, yeah.
They're cousins.
So their cousin, as she said, and finally she has thanked the group to let her be here, and she has she's very good. I mean, she's very satisfied that she was part of this. It was a mistake. I thought she said it failed. That's why I asked her the question. Thank you. Go ahead. ¿Se puede continuar?
Bueno, yo le decía que es un gusto, un placer. De todas formas, en otra ocasión sería más factible. Yo sé hablar el creol, pero no lo hablo muy bien. Hace rato no lo practico. Hoy yo no estoy en Cuba, estoy aquí en Canadá. Estoy aquí en Canadá con mi hija. Voy a Canadá y voy a Cuba. Así que quizás un día pueda estar con ustedes más cerca y hablar acerca de esto un poco más.
She said that she would like to speak Creole, but she understands Creole. She said a little bit Creole. And she is supposed to go to Canada and to be maybe newer here. But she would like to be able to speak Creole. That's not the case, but she enjoyed anyway to have been part, to exchange with you. Yes, vaya.
Ok, entonces muchas gracias. Muchas gracias a los que hicieron posible de hablar aquí con ustedes, de participar. Que Dios me los bendiga. Quizá un día nos vemos.
Bueno,
Hello.
y buena suerte.
Es un gusto.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So I guess we can open it up to, you could, okay, in case, we could open it up to any questions for, Dr. Pereira and, is Dr. Vidal still on?
I'm still on. I'm happy to take questions. Todavía estoy aquí y un placer. Preguntas si hay y también por Anadelia, and also if there's any questions for Anadelia.
Gracias.
You could just, yes.
Ok.
Question pour Anadelia. Question pour Anadelia.
Oh, Manuel, m'défend moi, m'pas parler créole là. M'fais un effort. Mais en pile parole, m'vle di, m'pas contre parole là bien, m'fais l'espagnol. Mais gan pile baray pour m'parler,
Bon.
non qui peut faire traduction, li pas qu'à comprendre, regardez, faut pas qu'à comprendre, mais m'fait un effort. Merci,
Bon.
Manuel. Merci pour faire tout ça, vous faire.
No problem.
Vous êtes bon promoteur pour festival Evaraspal, pour festival Santiago, pour tout festival. C'est travail.
Bon, ça m'a été voulu dire et que Anadelia, c'est lui-même qui rentrait Nago, c'est lui-même qui rentrait Eva Gaspar, disons, dans Casa Cultural, parce que Eva Gaspar, c'était un membre qui était un groupe personnel pali qui part dans Casa Cultural. Après que Eva Gaspar mourit, Anadelia allait li vin rentrer Eva Gaspar dans Casa Cultura. Et puis c'est à partir de cela, nous vin gagner festival là qui fait partie du système Casa Cultura. Est-ce que ça me dit assez ça?
C'est ça, c'est ça.
Emmanuel, merci pour. Thanks for
Merci en
speaking
pile, merci en
slowly.
pile.
Gracias
Merci,
para hablar
Oui,
lentamente el creol.
so, dans yon sens, Anadelia, c'est clé pour culture haïtienne parce que pour nous, imaginez-vous, festival la gen 25 ans la fonctionné. So, Anadelia commence ce festival ça, il est que li un jeune petit fille pratiquement. Et so, Anadelia, dans yon sens, et bien après ça, Anadelia, ou devine étudier anthropologie, hein, pas vrai?
Oui, si.
Li étudie anthropologie,
Dans l'université Cerro de Ávila.
et li danse tout, pas vrai?
Danser, chanter.
Anadelia te créé un groupe, yo te relé Caribe Créole.
Nous pas chanter, oui. Nous al Pérou, nous al chanter Pérou, nous gagnons.
Ok?
Nous créole, nous chanter créole. Qui l'a ou pas le Cuba?
Non, c'est ça que fait Anadelia dit, ça que fait Anadelia dit que moi-même avec nous c'est cousin. C'est parce que non haïtien Anadelia, c'est Anadelia Dorismo. Dorismo. Et nous connaissons Dorismo, et c'est comme Dorismo ici aux États-Unis. Et il y a deux sœurs, tous les deux étaient mariés avec Dorismo. Deux sœurs qui étaient mariées avec deux frères, tous les deux là, c'est Dorismo. Et puis, les que malé, moi, rivé et Violetta, Anadelia, prend moi, li embrasse moi, et li mette moi la caille, et Anadelia, sans Anadelia, m'pas quoi que m'ta capable de finir doctorat. Merci beaucoup, Anne.
Without Anadelia, he wouldn't have finished his doctorate.
So, Anadelia fait gros travail pour la communauté haïtienne et vous capable de dire que Feli a continué le travail ça. Anadelia avec Virginia,
Ok.
il gagne toute une équipe. Anadelia gagne Virginia, et c'est eux même qui entraînent jeunes yo, qui apprennent à danser, qui apprennent à battre tambour, qui apprennent à chanter. Merci beaucoup, Anadelia.
Merci, Emmanuel, merci. Muchas gracias, Grete. Ok.
Any other questions?
I have a question. No, aquí la cubre. Aquí la.
There is a,
Everybody, yeah. Why, at the same time, they are colonization country too.
How come they don't speak
Por-
Creole?
Porque cuando usted hace la promoción de la cultura haitiana, en Cuba no se utiliza la lengua creol. Porque
Sí,
No, porque
la
no-
lengua creol es lo que se usaba, no se usaba el español. Creol, todo es creol.
she said that it's creole, they use the it's creole.
Explica un par de creol, Manuel.
No, c'est pas creole, c'est apprendre. C'est pas the young kids, you know.
Es, si se enseña a los niños la lengua creol también.
Sí, los niños, hay muchos que sabían. Los niños ahora les estamos enseñando creol. Feli Nicanor está creando una escuela, una escuelita para dar clases de creol. Igual que Hilario con el Banzí Creol en La Habana.
Yes, they practice it over there. Sí, vaya. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
putting it out there that, we are, as Jair mentioned earlier, putting together a Wikipedia article, I think the next month, and the festival. It's a lot easier to find out, information online, for example, about the festival. It's not very easy to find information about Gaspar, and I'm still not clear on exactly when she died, for example. I haven't found it in written materials, but, it seems that it was right before the festival started. But, we need information, those kind of details about her life, and anything that you can send us. I'm not asking you to, I gotta make it bibliography right now, but, where is it? Yeah, we're gonna stay in touch with you, please, share that with us.
You have a specific question for her?
No,
No, is that for her?
well, it's a question, but, that's it.
Sir,
Mda répondre question et monsieur,
ok, vaya.
mda répondre question monsieur, et Paul, monsieur Paul, et parce que moi-même, moi, j'ai l'autre approche de ça qu'a fait Cuba. OK? Vous demandez une question que ça fait que qui faut descendre haïtien, yo, pas parler créole et pas parler créole bien. Une raison, c'est parce que yo pas montré créole là dans le système éducation Cuba. Dans le système éducation Cuba, ou bien doit apprendre français, ou bien doit apprendre anglais, mais pas gagner classe créole dans tout le pays. Ça ou gagner, c'est quelques moun qui dans casa cultura, qui dans l'autre côté, qui fait ti classe, ti ceci, cela, mais puis faut moun yo, c'est pas comme si que si mon petit cubain ou bien si mon petit moun cubain, il doit aller me prendre classe créole dans n'importe classe. Non, ça n'a pas existé Cuba. Premier bagage que me vient avec Cuba, ça c'est un problème que moi j'ai avec Cuba. C'est que l'on pas être dans l'aéroport là, ou pas ouais aucun signe en créole. Et cependant, ou elle est en français ou capable de dans l'autre langue, mon pas ouais en créole. Les wap conduit Cuba, ou pas ouais, et pas quoi Canada, côté ou capable de jouer un signe en anglais et pour venir en français. Non, ou pas jouer ça Cuba. So, ça c'est une question que je toujours demandé tête moi. Pour qui raison que Cuba a quitté moun yo perdu le langage là? Il a perdu créole là parce qu'en pile fois, moun yo a chanté que vous pas comprendre.
Oui, Manuel,
Oui.
là où il parle pas dit. Si on pas fait une action pour faire un petit école, on va comme ça, là parle pas dit.
Et ça, c'est une raison que moi souhaité, moi prié que HSI, organisation dans le collège là, capable d'entrer en contact avec organisation ministre de culture ou bien ministre d'éducation qui bat pour nous capables de régler le problème ça, pour que on l'a pas perdu. Parce que si on l'a commencé perdu, si monsieur avec si mesdames il a chanté et il pas connaît ça, il a dit.
OK.
Par exemple, nous avons chanté qui était Papa Guédé. Papa Guédé, bel garçon. Papa Pédéda.
Il y a des niveaux, bel garçon. Il est habillé tout de blanc pour la monter au palais.
Pour la monter au palais. Oh, Guédé Nibo. Oh. Mais ils chanté, mais ils pas compris ni. Ils pas compris ni. Et que, en réalité, chanter à son chanter politique lié.
Yes. Elle a habillé tout de blanc quand on député, elle a habillé tout de noir, ça me c'est la
Oui. Son chanter politique lié, bien que il y ait aspect voudouès la donné, mais son chanter politique lié. Il y a un autre chanter que aurait mis en pile pour Okayo, Okayo, mouette, l'aime tant de quand on a tiré, on l'autre chanter politique.
révolution.
Oui. So, ça qui passe, yo chante, yo gagné l'heure, yo pas comprendre chanter, et gagné l'heure tout, yo pas contre tout chanter, yo connaît petit morceau la donne, et puis yo répété.
Alors, tout mon question pour profiter de projet.
M'entendez?
Dans les interventions là, c'est bien dans celle-là, effectivement, nous avons raison.
Oui.
Ils ont expliqué que, comment on va expliquer, do you understand, Creole? Okay. Comment on fait expliquer que malgré toutes les difficultés que Creole a gagné à Cuba, le mettez un peu au deuxième rang, et vous dites que ce deuxième rang, il ne pas aller à Cuba. C'est démographiquement qui s'est passé.
Ah, ça c'est une grosse question parce que ça basé sur dissertation. Parce que une question que moi te demandé tête moi, qui gens que après toute année ça yo haïtien au Québec culture qui va. Parce qu'après 1959 et communication coupée, Duvalier et pour faire américain, pour faire que américain content, a tué tout communiste qui rentre en Haïti, il a pris les mounio kamoké, et puis Kounia même, après de 1959 jusqu'à nos jours, parce que ce mounio chita là, par exemple, vous capable de dire, papa Anadelia, Vini, ok, après 1959, par exemple, Anadelia fait, mais Anadelia pas jamais allé, il pas de possibilité pour les Haïti, parce que frontière fermée. So, ou demandez tout, qui j'ai génération ça fait parler créole, comprendre, capable de chanter en créole, c'est à cause de culture, à cause de folklore là, qui baille aux possibilités ça. Si c'est pas pour folklore là, langage a mourir, tout baille a mourir, même rituel a fini. So, c'est bataille ça que en réalité que n'a fait. Et je suis capable de dire, même l'MT Dominicani, je parlé avec Sonia Pierre, qui ont activiste, oui, qui mourit il y a quelque temps, qui ont activiste haïtienne qui domine. Et bien, dans le premier bail, il dit, pour ça que culture haïtienne pour mourir qui va. Faut nous chercher moyen, nous pas quitter mourir, parce que culture pour mourir. Donc, dans un sens, travail ça que nous avons fait, c'est un travail qui est important. C'est un travail qui est important pour nous renforcer petit Anadelia yo Capvini et petit Anadelia yo. Parce que nous le petit monsieur Damouté ouais cap danser. Toi quand ti moun ça ouais yo là danser. Yo pas contre ça y a chanter. Sous rentrer nos conversations que yo là avec après 2-3 titans. Yo pas qu'à parler. So, ça c'est bien content comment des questions ça. Parce qu'on demande tout, comment se fait-il? Un gouvernement qui a fait l'argent, il a fait quoi, oui? Parce que les touristes là, rivés qui bat, qui intéresse ces touristes là? Qui ça le ouais? Livrer un monde qui danser, livrer un monde qui chanter, c'est ça qui intéresse. Il va pas aller à l'église pour. Mais sous qui te culture à mourir, il ne pas venir encore. Et là, ils viennent, ils dépensé comme dans l'hôtel, ils dépensé comme dans le restaurant, ils couru monter, ils couru descendre. Depuis ils descendent dans l'aéroport, ils fait comme ça. Dans comme ticket, dans taxe que ils payent. Oui. So, gouvernement Cuba bénéficier de culture haïtienne, mais on demande tout. Pour qui raison, il a quitté culture à mourir comme ça? Je ne sais pas qui ça Greta t'a dit tout ça.
Oh, gan un grupo, el grupo de Choco, en Holguín, Cueto.
Uh-huh.
Li fait l'école, li fait bay lection batimoun en créole. Kounya, c'est pour nous faire un plan. C'est pour faire un plan pour yo mettre l'école na kaikilti pour étudier créole là. Pour qui ça ou dit au grand raison. Ti moun yo peut chanter, yo pas connaître ça, yo peut chanter. Yo pas connaître parler, yo pas communiquer. C'est pour faire des bagailles là, c'est pour yo connaître comment yo peut danser et ça yo peut danser. Hilario dans l'école là la van. Hilario na vanzil créole la liga un ti l'école là man. Pero tout le monde c'est pour faire un ti l'école na kai kiti côté gan kiti là ici pour moun na yo kon parler. Non seul ti moun, gan moun pichon yo pas kon parler. Gan pichon kuma moi yo pas kon parler. C'est pour faire l'école, c'est un projet, on peut parler avec Félix Sousa. Félix a mettre implémentar un ti l'école na kai kiti pour yo apprendre créole. Bon bagay. C'est pour mener kilti haïtien, moun Haïti, moun dans l'autre pays qui danse haïtien, mener yo evagaspal pour yo ouais comment yo peut danser tout. Pour qu'il y a tout le monde qui est dans même qui là yo ça pas mourir, yo sorti dans groupe là. Et ti moun yo peut danser, yo pas danser nago, fey, vodou, yo pas danser comme Haïti danser. Mais c'est pour yo porter moun sort Haïti ou moun sa États-Unis pour yo montrer yo danser danse haïtien pour que yo peut danser yo peut mescler danse haïtien avec qui ben yo perdu culture haïtien comprendre c'est un bagage important pour faire
Yes, oui.
¿Se escuche?
Question ça, c'est pour Anna.
Yeah.
Okay.
¿Entiendes? Se ha encontrado con Hilario.
Des curriculum de Guelda, mais n'a jamais cru l'enfant. Il doit disparaître. Est-ce que ça bon? Pour que les autres, si tu veux disparaître là, disparaître, mais nous n'avons pas de
¿Entiende usted?
Dime.
Sé que se ha encontrado con Hilario y tenía un programa que lo ha presentado, pero nunca ha tenido una contestación ninguna. ¿Qué piensa de esa situación?
Oh.
La pregunta, ¿entiende usted?
Sí, Hilario está ahora en Cuba, él estaba aquí en Canadá, pero ella tenía un programa de la escuela del Vanzil Creole. Ella no ha contactado con Hilario.
Ya. Sí. ¿Ah?
Hilario.
Otra vez, por favor.
Uh-huh.
Ya dice que se ha empezado con el curso. ¿Y no está usted enterado de esta cosa?
¿De qué?
¿Está usted enterado de esta cosa, el programa que se ha presentado a Hilario?
Sí.
¿Está usted enterado de eso?
Sí, yo lo sé, que Hilario tiene un programa en creol, que él todos los años, él hace el evento Vanzil Creol, que ahí se implementa lo que es hablar creol, y ha graduado personas que han hablado creol. Se han graduado de esa escuela.
Yes, she's aware, and
Yo he participado.
Muy bien. Ok. De Santa Café là,
que podría hacer yo
Encore,
para fortalecer este programa? ¿Qué
Ok,
se podría hacer para fortalecerlo?
¿qué he tenido que hacer para fortalecerlo?
Sí,
Bueno, lo primero es buscar los profesores y una guía de clase para entonces implementar las clases y una persona específica que dé las clases.
exactamente. Ella dice que ella ya lo ha hecho. Ella hizo ya el currículum y ella lo mandó ya a las clases.
¿entendido?
¿Qué dice?
Ya se ha presentado el currículum y qué otra, qué otro paso que podría hacer para ir, para ir, para, para conseguir un buen resultado de esta cosa.
Ok, ok. Yo vivo en Morón, que está el grupo Famsetual, que Manuel conoce un grupo de danza que se llama Famsetual, que es de Morón, que hay muchos descendientes. Hay profesor de francés que se llama Benjamín, que si él tiene ese programa, se puede implementar en Morón, y en Ciego y en Violeta.
And Moron is a place where you could go ahead with the program and present it so that it would continue.
Manuel me puede hacer llegar la persona, el programa y podemos trabajar en eso. Yo cuando vaya para Cuba, yo puedo trabajar en ese tema y
Yeah.
yo le hago saber a Manuel.
Emmanuel could help you to have this program with them over there. Yeah.
Sí, very much.
Manuel,
Yes,
ou pas changer groupe Femmes Étoiles, Femmes Étoiles,
Moron.
c'est la mwete. Bon,
Ok.
ou ka mette programme là, m'ka l'homme al kiba, m'poil kiba, moi qui peut venir.
Ok.
Ma implementa programme là,
Ok.
Jou Ciego, Moron,
Uh-huh.
Félix Alfel, Ciego, Violette, et nous ka fait l'école pour moun na yo apprendre créole là. Et nous poil bay una continuidad pour nous connaître comment bagay la poil marcher.
Ok, n'a parlé sur ça et puis n'a travaillé sur ça
Oui,
et à opportunité que moi que nous gagnons Kounia avec HSI qui ont une organisation qui
oui,
possibilité qui font et nous capables de prendre peut-être mettre dans niveau pas dans niveau personnel peut-être même dans niveau institution
oui,
qui capable de faire très important. Bon,
ok.
et Dr. Wilkin demande une question, et peut-être ou capable de qui choisit sur ça. Dr. Wilkins dit comme ça que yo t'a aimé faire un pagina sous Eva Gaspar, mais yo pas connaît, yo li difficile pour avoir une information sur Eva Gaspar. Et une question que Dr. Louis Wilkins demandait, c'est, par exemple, qui Jean Eva Gaspar mourit? Est-ce que vous êtes capable de un petit détail sur ça pour Dr. Wilkins, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, n'a pas de problème sur ça.
OK.
N'a pas de problème sur ça.
Attendez.
M'kaba information vrai. Talpa vle connaît.
OK. OK. Ou n'a pas contact. OK. Dr. Wilkins, pour aller kembe contact avec vous,
Oui,
peut-être ou capable de dire, expliquer lui qui Jean évaluation à mourir. Ou te dit moi histoire ça, oui, Anna. Pas
moi,
connaît, ou
moi,
pas connaît. Est-ce que vous avez un loisir pour me dire histoire?
gade livre là, gade. Ça son livre, m'gagne sous ça.
OK. So, OK.
Moi, gade Manuel, moi même avec Virginia, nous gagne un livre sous ça.
OK. Comme il y a un livre sur ça, n'a cherché moyen pour Dr. Wilkin joindre accès avec livre là.
Oui, ok. Ok.
Okay, so you have a question.
One question. Thank you so much again for listening to your presence and for this great discussion.
Gracias por su presentación.
My question is, I remember during your presentation, you said that now you were trying to involve the Christianity, the church. So have you encountered any challenges with, because it's like a Buddhism in comparison to Christianity, regarding your posture?
Eh,
Oh, okay, just Christianity.
Ella dice que usted ha hablado de acercar las iglesias para promover la cultura. ¿Qué desafío usted ha encontrado ya en hacerlo?
Ya, porque se habla, yo viajé a Haití 5 años, se habla de la cultura haitiana, de la parte, nous parlons si culture haïtien, souba, nago, vodou, mais l'homme à Haïti, moi, gan pile haïtien qui al dans l'église. Yo chante, yo danse, mais c'est haïtien tout. Qui ba, gan un groupe, ele, descendance, moi, descendance chante dans l'église, yo qu'on a l'Haïti, moi, groupe haïtien, peut faire bon chanter, haïtien, même connaît, là, Haïti, yo fait bois caïman, yo fait un bagay pour loi yo, ben Haïti vire la veille, mais gan pile moun dans l'église que c'est haïtien tout. Et même vle faire même bagay là, même bagay nous fait dans Vodouan, nous fait dans l'église là. Moun na yo chanter, moun na yo danser, mais c'est haïtien tout. C'est pour ça qu'on voulait faire un mouvement, un movimiento de haïtiens qui allent dans l'église, yo chanter, yo fait tout bagay, c'est haïtien tout yo. Ben, c'est na de bagay sa kounyamye. Et m'jwen na pile haïtien qui na danse, yo dans l'église, yo fait des bagay là. Moun catholique dans l'église. Moi, l'Haïti, moi, le côté l'église catholique, moi, pile haïtien peut faire bagay dans catholique tout, mais c'est haïtien tout yo yen. En pile qui bat, c'est descendants haïtiens, moi, yo foué quand yo dans l'église, et dans l'église, là, yo fait bagay haïtien. C'est pour ça, m'pe faire des bagay là, yo. M'pe travailler kounya dans bout haïtien, l'église là. Mais, le fait bon bagay, bon corps, bon chanter, yo fait. Et c'est pour ça, m'di kounya, moi, na bout ça tout. Bagay créole là, c'est un bagay plus bien, nous peut faire une école pour yo parler créole, ça idem tout. Pour nous parler créole, pour descendants parler créole, pour qui ben yo pas de créole, pour qu'il tire haïtien qui bat pas mourir. C'est comme ça, moi, bagay là, Manuel. C'est comme ça, nous peut travailler.
Ok, merci un peu. Une dernière question.
Merci. N'importe bagay, ou connaît côté de moi pour livre là, pour me nous information pour l'école là, ma fait nous contact avec Hilario, pour programme là, tout ça, yon a même, tout ça, on a compté avec.
Merci un peu. Nous avons deux dernières questions.
Ok.
Anna, aussi, c'est qui genre, selon lui-même, qui sa diaspora, surtout diaspora qui, en dehors, qui va capable de faire, qui sont capable de faire pour inclure et pour monter voix diaspora qui dans Cuba, monter voix, parce que souvent dans la conversation, c'est diaspora, soit aux États-Unis et surtout à New York, Florida, au Canada, et même si après, tu parles peut-être diaspora en France. Mais qui ça nous capable de faire pour faire parler, faire monter voix et centrer voix diaspora à Cuba, et non seulement à Cuba, mais ça qui en Dominicanie, ça Saint-Vincent, ça Curaçao, ça Trinidad et ça Chili. Donc, on met ça parce que la majorité de nous, c'est l'allié, c'est voisins, c'est pays qui proche à Haïti. Et qui est proche à Tunisie. Donc, qui ça nous capable de faire pour monter voix diaspora, donc pour notre TikTok ou dans n'importe quel domaine. Qui dans les voies que nous-mêmes sommes capables de faire, monter voix.
¿Se han entendido? ¿No? ¿No se ha entendido la pregunta, no?
No entendí, mi amor, explica.
Bueno. Ha dicho que se puede hacer la diáspora afuera de Cuba para respaldar a sus iniciativas en Cuba para promover la cultura haitiana. Se dice la diáspora en los Estados Unidos como en Canadá u otra parte del mundo. Que juntos que podemos hacer para respaldar sus iniciativas.
Está bien, gracias, lo podemos hacer.
¿Qué se puede hacer? ¿Qué hay a su parecer, qué se
¿Qué yo
puede
puedo?
hacer? ¿Qué necesita usted para que vaya más, que se hace mejor las iniciativas que usted tiene en Cuba? ¿Qué se puede hacer juntos para
Ah,
responder?
ok, ok. Bueno, ahora específicamente no tenía ese plan, así que yo puedo escribirle a Manuel o escribirle para decirle con objetividad qué yo necesito para que me ayuden con ese proyecto.
Yes, they say that they don't have any plan for the time being, but it's a good idea, but they don't have anything settled in this area.
Ok,
Gracias. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here.
gracias.
A safe journey home, and we'll see you again. Thank you so much. And to everybody online, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Vidal. Thank you.
Thank you, gracias. Bye. Bye.
Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you, everyone. Gracias a todos.
Thank you.
Merci, Ampi. I just wanted to see who's at the top.
And then also,
Gotcha. You know, I realize, you know, I practice when you I practice for but you know, I don't really, I'm like, that's wow. Okay, stress. Yeah. Yeah, I have a flag, the flag on it. I just got it here, yeah. I said, I want to, when he came, he took orders. Yeah. Even so, takes care of like, when he gets in here, he's like, you don't let it get back. And it's like a baby, yeah. Well, you know how you pound in? Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to eat, don't put it down, don't put it up, and we'll be there for you for. He's so much. I believe it. I was just talking to him, he said, yeah, I'm in my. Son, all this stuff, and didn't really play drums. He told me that he heard it by trace to even. Oh, yeah. That's definitely a lot. I don't care what you say, whatever he claims to be. That's a little lot. Yeah. But he said his mom was on the church. Yeah, but he also, he said he did play drums. Yes, with the church. With the church, yes, right, so he had some background.
He was born for that.
Because that thing, that heel-toe thing, nobody can do that like that. I think it's from 20 years of playing with Azor. That's all Azor does. From the time the song starts, that shit is great. I'm not gonna get it. I'm not even
Alors, si nous leur donne pas la parole, alors, comment c'est possible? Alors, c'est ça parfois que je peux faire parce que je veux pas élever beaucoup de français. Pour moi, ça c'est égal. Pour moi, parler l'espagnol, parler le français, parler et l'anglais. Pour moi, c'est égal parce que tout pour moi ont la même importance. C'est une façon de se communiquer et de se faire et transformer les choses. Alors, pour moi, ça m'est égal.
Se habla francés, muy bien, habla español, muy bien, habla inglés, muy bien, habla creol, muy bien.
Io parlo italiano, ma
Laura,